Okay, good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So this evening we're going to discuss Pesach or Passover. And so raise your hand if you're not familiar with the Kabbalistic approach to Passover. Good. All right, so we're going to go over just a couple of principles of Pesach, Passover, and starting from, I guess, the purpose, the reason why we do it the way that we do, because we know that behind everything that is done in our life, there should be the right intention. And as we set the right intention, hopefully positive, there is a better chance for a positive outcome. So let's read the first paragraph and then we'll continue.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
There is a spiritual significance and code concealed within the story of the Israelite slavery in Egypt. Egypt is a code word for our ego and reactive behavior. Slavery refers to Satan's complete dominion over humanity. During the Israelites' inhabitation of Egypt, the game of life and Satan's role in it had reached a critical point. Satan was in complete control and there was no way for mankind to beat him.
Okay, so we're talking here about historically about the Israelites that experienced all the incredible miracles that happened on Mount Sinai. They've literally witnessed God with their own six senses, five senses and the six. And it says whoever was standing there became a prophet. So when we're talking about the Israelites, we're talking about the same people. It's just that they spent over 200 years, 210 years in Egypt after, it was discovered that Joseph was the governor of the land and etc. And the brothers joined and they basically found a refuge. And ultimately, we're talking about, a king, Pharaoh, who forgot about them. There is a lot of arguments and in the interpretation, are we talking about the same God, the same Pharaoh? And from a Kabbalistic perspective, it is the same. We're talking about the same Pharaoh who basically forgot all the good that was done for him by the Israelites. Starting by Joseph, who basically, saved the empire, the Egyptian empire, from famine and from destruction. And so, going forward in the story, I don't know if it really, if we really needed to spend time discussing the chronological events, because it doesn't make sense. We're talking about the Israelites that lived there for 200 years, but it's the same king. So a king that lived 200 years, like it doesn't make so much sense. But as we are discussing from the Kabbalistic perspective, and we're reading that, there is the mention of codes that are concealed in the story. So there is a portion, there is a part of the story that is real, that really happened. And then there is like this whole segments, all these segments that are called codes that we shouldn't take literally. And so, as a matter of fact, we're talking about the story of the Israelites' slavery in Egypt, and Egypt is a code a code for the ego, or for the reactive behavior. We're talking about, if we are to take the word Egypt, Mitzrayim, it comes from the word metzer, which means narrow. So anybody that has a narrow mind is a person who's not open-minded. So to have a conversation with somebody who is narrow-minded, it's very difficult. It can only go one way, his way, or the highway. So really, when we're talking about Egypt, we're talking about ego. And so if you're thinking about it, we are all still in Egypt. And we're all still slaves of our metzer, of our narrowness of mind, and of our own slavery. Now, each and every single one of us has his own segment of slavery, what it means for him. Just give me 1 second, 1 moment.
Somehow I know what he's doing.
I think Rebecca literally took the screamer out of the house. Anyway, so very interesting. So the game of life and Satan's role is has reached a critical point. And so if you will, in every instance when negativity is reaching a critical point, it has to be purged. It has to be cleansed. And if you think about it, you can apply it to any context of no return, that you're reaching the point of no return. So it can be in a toxic relationship, it can be in a job where you're not being appreciated, it can be in a marriage where there is no mutual respect. In all sorts of contexts, we can take this and exponentially, obviously, you know, the example that is given to us here is the ultimate of negativity. What could be the ultimate of negativity if you are talking about humankind? And he talks about, you know, that for like some examples, that you would walk in the street and you would see people dying in the street, and those people wouldn't do anything to help, to fix the situation. Now, it's interesting because there are some experiments, social experiments that are being done in different cities. I've watched a few of them, very interesting, on Facebook, even if some of them are manipulated and whatever, it's not the point. The idea is that they put like a child that is like maybe like, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 years old, and he was like in short sleeves, and it was freezing outside, and he was on the floor, and he was like laying down, and he was like dressed as basically as a homeless, and you had basically nobody that would stop by. The only person after, I don't know if it was 20 or 30 minutes, that really stopped was a homeless. A homeless in that social experiment stopped for another homeless. And I mean, you can make the conclusions that you'd like. It's not the point of making any conclusion. We don't need to speak about Egypt to talk about these levels of negativity. We have those levels of negativity nowadays. Nowadays, we have these levels of negativity. When we're speaking about negativity, we're not talking about evil. We're not talking about somebody who is like, just like pure darkness. When we're talking about negativity, we're talking about selfishness or desire to receive for the self alone, being self-centered. So you can be like, I'm not also saying now, you know, take all your money and give it to the poor. That's not what I'm saying either. But find a piece of your day, a piece of your life to be more alert and to be more aware. That would be already like miles away from our consciousness being plugged into what we call Egypt. So anyway, we got the idea. Satan was in complete control, and that is the level that needed to be purged. And what was sent to them, I as a force, as a liberating energy, was Moses. Now we believe, at least when we study Kabbalah, we believe that there is no such a thing as coincidences. So Moses, like, it has to be more than just the person. And Moses, Moshe in Hebrew, is the three letters Mem Shin Hey to spell out Moshe. But it is also the three letters Mem Hey Shin, if you're reversing the letters. And those three letters are the names, or the name, the 72 name for healing. And so the one thing that was sent to them, and it can be a conduit, it can be a teacher, it can be a channel, whatever it is, it can be like a news, a phone call, or a new discovery, or a new medicine, a new pill that was sent to you. It's not a coincidence that exactly when you're suffering from something, suddenly they discover the solution, because there were countless of people before you that could have perished before you or suffered before you. So there is no coincidence when healing comes. There is no such a, we don't believe in coincidence. So the fact that Moses was sent to them to liberate them from Egypt, from their slavery, that they reached such low level of tuning, such low level of frequency that was in tune with the light force of the Creator, was sent to them Meme Shin, was sent to them healing, was sent to them Moses. And so when did that happen? It couldn't have happened in the first year. It couldn't have happened in the 120th year. It had to happen when there was complete control by Satan of everything that was going on there. And there was no way for mankind to beat them. There was no, like, they reached such a low level that there was either extracting them from where they were or complete destruction. Complete destruction. Okay, let's read the next paragraph.
And that's when something remarkable happened. The light intervened on our behalf. Suddenly, 10 massive jolts of spiritual energy, signified by the code name 10 plagues, were thrust into our world. The shockwaves sent Satan reeling. His death grip on us was broken, and we found ourselves on an equal footing with our opponent. And the moment Satan's stranglehold was broken, chaos vanished, as signified by the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt and the state of immortality that was achieved at Mount Sinai. This is the power of Pesach.
So the one question that must be asked, why couldn't they be liberated right away? Like from day one, why did they have to go through an entire year? It says that the 10 plagues actually went out for an entire year. So even though the most massive, the 10 plagues took place maybe in a day, in 2 days, in a week time or whatnot, this doesn't make 365 days. And so the writings, the sages are telling us that there were a multitude more miracles that the Israelites and the Egyptians were witness of. It wasn't just the 10 plagues. For an entire year, those people witnessed the greatest, the most incredible miracles of mankind. Why did they have to witness all those miracles? Why can, if Moses is the leader, is the liberator, why can't you just, hey, everybody just join me and let's get out of here? And the reason is they needed to be convinced to leave their prison, to leave their slavery state. Why did they need convincing to leave their slavery state? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, imagine, like, I hope I'm not offending anybody, and it's really not my intent, but 200 years of slavery of the Black people. Imagine if you have Moses that comes to liberate them. They don't need any convincing. Take us out right away. Why the Israelites need any convincing? A year of convincing, a year to witness miracles that there is something much bigger than what they had. Even after leaving Egypt, every step of the way, they complained to Moses. They were not happy about the place that he brought them to. Right now, they're facing the Red Sea, and which is right before it was split. You brought us here to be killed. We are missing Egypt. We are missing the taste of the fish that we were eating there. We were missing the exquisite delicatesse of all the different meals that they were eating there. You don't speak like that when you're in prison. You don't speak like that when you're a slave. So time and time again, it is proven to us that what they were broken out of is not a slavery, a physical slavery. It was a slavery of the mind. It was a slavery of the five senses that got them so comfortable into the physical goodness, goodies of life. It said that they left with all the riches of Egypt. They were the most successful people. They had actually slaves. The Israelite had servants. And so this is why it was so hard to live what they had. So imagine that you're living in a mansion and you have 5 servants and you have a chef and you have a trainer and you have like a line up of incredible cars and beautiful watches and beautiful dress or beautiful clothing, an amazing network of people that are making you even more money than yesterday. And then you have like a Moses that comes and says, hey, you're in slavery, let's get out of here. Like you would look at this person and you would really truly treat this person like a nutshell, like a crazy person. And this is really what happened. This is why it was so hard to convince those people to leave the 1% and go and get something that is much greater. The freedom of the soul, not the freedom of physicality, because the freedom of physicality gives you instant gratification, gives you the pleasures of the body. But the freedom of the soul gives you the ultimate fulfillment that the soul is searching. The body is not looking for fulfillment, for lasting fulfillment. It only looks for immediate gratification. And this is what they were slaves of. The power of Pesach, maybe not all of us are interested in that. Maybe a lot of people, even on this phone call, are like thinking, you know, my life is not so bad. I'm not so interested to break out of my physical slavery to find something that is like intangible. And this is what we're discussing here. Day in and day out, we are satisfied, settling for less with things that are giving us a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of security. That security, that sense of security needs to be renewed every day, every week, every month. We don't know if the same income is going to be in a year from now, especially nowadays. You don't know what's going to happen. I know people that are, you know, buying guns and buying storages of food and all sorts of things because we don't know what's going to happen with Putin in Russia. We don't know what's going to happen. There is more insecurity today than there was 60 days ago. And this is how it goes. There is more insecurity today than there was 2 years ago with the pandemic. But each and every step of the way, maybe the universe is just making us realize, no matter what you do, if you're counting in the 1% physical things, it's just based on fear and insecurity and the next thing that you're going to be afraid of. And maybe there is something that is ruling that is much greater than all this, and I'm going to show it to you. And I'm going to show you that there are miracles that are beyond anything that your mind can even comprehend. And Moses, every single step of the way, had to come back. And you know what? One of the things that is incredible is that Egypt, or I would say Pharaoh, at the first second, third plague, he's taking it and he's like, arguing with them, and our gods they are as powerful, etc. And then the fourth and the fifth comes, and they say, okay, we got it. Take them. Take those Israelites away. You convinced us. And as soon as they got the word back and the Israelites are starting to get organized, the advisors and everything, like, are you crazy? You're going to let those people go? If you let those people go, everything is going to crumble. Imagine if you're letting go the most geniuses and the most blessed people, because those people were blessed. They knew how to draw energy. They were, in essence, spiritual. In essence, they knew how to connect. They knew, even though they lost most of it, but still. And so Egypt here, not the people, but the klipa was hanging on to the energy, to the last drop. And so Pharaoh each time would come back and say, no, I changed my mind. I'm not going to let them go. And so it says that the Yud Kevavke and God hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he changed his mind. Now tell me one thing. If the whole game was to convince the Egyptians and Pharaoh to let them go, and he's ready to let them go, why is God intervening and coming and saying, no, I'm going to harden his heart, and I'm going to make him more stubborn and make him change his mind? Like, nobody stops and says, wait a second, why is God doing that? It's so confusing. It's so counterproductive. First, because when we're talking about those 10 massive jolts of spiritual energy, we're talking about the 10 sfirot. We're not talking about the 10 plagues as this history lesson. We're talking about a package of how can I say that? Like a mechanism that works together. And if you don't have those 10 pieces activated, the whole thing cannot work. So it's not God that is convincing afterwards Pharaoh not to go. It's just that it's not the right time. We need to accumulate the activation from the first plague to the last plague, each and every single one of them, to activate the liberation of the mind, the complete let go. And sometimes somebody has to be torn apart or torn from what he was holding on. If it was a codependent relationship, a narcissist relationship, a toxic relationship, there has to be a break that really is causing a trauma, sort of a trauma. But in order to achieve that, you have to achieve like the summum of all negativity, so that the person comes and says, that's it, I can't take it anymore. For the people to have reached this level, Moses was there. He was not liberating himself. He was sent into Egypt to liberate those people that were stuck, happy where they were. And he's like arguing, like, with me? Like, they're not going to listen to me. Like, did you see the place and the positions that they have and the leadership that they have in the society? They will never listen to me. But the conduit, the activator that was Moses, had to trigger that consciousness within each and every single one of them, and each and every single one of them had to be a witness. And so they were not ready to activate that the first day. They were not ready to activate that in the fifth one. They were ready to activate once all the 10 levels were activated. There is no coincidence also on the timing, because this could have not happened any other time of the year. We know that when we're discussing windows in time, those windows in time are powerful conduit in the cosmos that are facilitating certain decisions, certain actions to be made, or certain actions to be taken. And so the 15th day of Nisan, which is basically the full moon of Aries, that was the cosmic opening that this had to happen. And it had to happen at a specific moment where the Israelites would be finally able to live. And so it says that the 15th day of Pesach is equaling the energy of Pesach, the power of Pesach. The power of Pesach could have not been liberated any other day than the 15th of Pesach, and the freedom from bondage that represents Egypt could have not manifested any other day than the 15th of Nisan. And so for us, it's very important to understand those couple of things that we're discussing now, because this detachment from negativity is to remove the ultimate bread of shame, which is in essence the reason why humanity has come together to correct the original sin of Adam, which was bringing alive this correction of bread of shame. And so it says that there are different levels of revelation of light on the night of Pesach. It begins on Friday night and ends on Saturday night this year. Every year it can be on a weekday or whatnot, but it will always be on the 15th of Aries. And so the 15th of the day, or any of the Kabbalistic day, would always begin in the evening of, like at sundown, and end at sundown, the next sundown. So basically 25 hours. And so there are 4 levels that are being revealed, and I will explain them shortly because we don't have that much time. We're talking about Katnut Aleph, Katnut Bet, Gadlut Aleph, Gadlut Bet. It's codes. Like I could use any other codes. This is how those codes are spelled out. So Katnut means smallness 1, smallness 2, greatness 1, greatness 2. What is interesting is that the first light that is being revealed on the night of Pesach, on the eve of Pesach, on Friday night this year, is that it begins with the highest light, which is greatness Bet. So you would think it should be chronological. It should start with the beginning, which would be like point A, B, C, D. Like if you're thinking about it, like you should start with A and finish with D. So why do you start here with the end, with D, and then go back? And so the Kabbalists are explaining, it's like as if you are projecting, or as a metaphor, taking Katnut Aleph and comparing it to a baby. And Katnut Bet is still a small child, but not anymore a baby. That small child can communicate, you can have a conversation, etc. Gadlut Aleph is a young man or a young woman that is in the age way past puberty, and that's the beginning of adulthood. You get married and you make choices, etc. Gadlut Bet is an older, wiser individual, man or woman, oftentimes in spirituality represented, by a wise individual, and white hair, etc., because energetically it represents wisdom. And so, in this case, speaking of the very entrance of the revelation of Pesach, we're starting with the revelation of Gadlut Bet, which is the wise individual, the wise man or woman. And so why do we start from there? And so the key for us to understand is that wherever there is light, there is an equal force of bondage, equal force of desire to receive for the self alone that is there to grab that energy from us. And so the first light that is being revealed for us to liberate us from whatever bondage is holding us back is the wise side of us. It is the ultimate accomplishment, achievement of your spiritual self. And this is what is being revealed to defeat any type, any level of negativity that exists in our life. And so this is why, in order for us to defeat any type of potential negativity that we call Satan to come and to play with, that completion of revelation of light that is called the Gadlut Bet is coming and is just waving off any type of potential pretendant that's going to come and say, I want a piece. And so this is why the accomplished side of us comes and like with a slam, just like kicks out of the way for the entire evening, for the entire 24 hours, all the energy that is going to be necessary for us to liberate us is being revealed at the very beginning of what we call the Seder. And so I'm just going to touch a little bit about the Seder. By the way, if you have the Haggadah, I recommend you to study it. It's about 20 or 30 pages. It's a great read and great explanation. Just before the Seder, I think I'll touch just a couple of words about the checking and burning of the Chametz. So this year, the checking of the Chametz is going to happen on Thursday night, after sundown. And so the checking of the Chametz, basically, again, it is a symbolic tradition that is in Kabbalah, that we basically wrap 10 pieces of bread in aluminum, and we spread it around the room. And then you go around with a spoon and a feather, a wooden spoon and a feather in pitch darkness, and just with the light of a candle, and searching for those little pieces of aluminum that that carry this chametz, this whole wheat, this wheat or this bread or whatnot. So we need to understand that when we are doing this search of the 10 pieces of bread, they represent the spiritual and metaphysical purification of our negativity, of our desire to receive for the self alone. So that and every physical action that we make awakens a spiritual one. On that night, by doing the searching of the chametz, we are awakening incredible, powerful energy that is preparing our vessel to receive the energy, the light of Pesach. And then the burning of the chametz happens the following morning. So Friday night is Passover, is for those who connect on Kabbalah.com, you can connect even for free. It's a donation base, so you can give whatever you want. And then you can join on Kabbalah.com the Seder on Friday night. And so on Friday morning, after we did the searching on Thursday night, we do the burning of the chametz, which is basically completing what we have started the previous evening, to eradicate, to remove that negativity. Each and every single one of those times, we're basically using prayers or connections in order to activate those forces of getting rid of this negativity. So this is an example when we're doing the prayer for the searching, and then there is also similar blessing that we do to cancel any type of negativity. So if you will, this prayer is the tool we use to nullify any remaining chametz that we may have overlooked, and we recite the prayer out loud. We concentrate on spiritual purification. The same goes for the burning in the morning. So there is like a, like this very safe, whatever you call it, recipient that we throw all the chametz that we searched on Thursday night, and we are getting rid of our chametz that represents our negativity. if we don't want to go through like this whole process, we can go through this whole process, or we don't understand this whole process, what you can do, because everybody is going to be exposed to this light that you're going to celebrate or that you're not going to celebrate. Everybody is going to be under the moon in some capacity and is going to tap into that light that's going to be available. So what you can do, if you're not going to do all that and the Seder and whatnot, you can on Thursday night search for your chametz, search for your negativity, and write down what you're slaves of. What is holding you back? What kind of fear? What kind of insecurity? What kind of low self-esteem? What kind of doubt? And what kind of things you would like to see yourself liberated from, purified from? And you have tried all sorts of different techniques and strategies and philosophies and whatnot and spiritualities, and it was good, but it's still there. And you know what? You can get that extra boost with this practice. So on Thursday night, do that little homework, and on Thursday and on Friday morning, after sunrise, take that list that you wrote on a piece of paper and burn it. Burn it and flash it, bury it, do whatever you want with it, burn it. Okay, just a couple of words about the Seder. So the Seder is basically the celebration that we do on the night of Pesach. We are using the Haggadah. The Haggadah, which comes from the word lehagid, which means to say. We use our mouth most of the day, most of the year, to say all sorts of things. But when we are focusing our words for a specific connections, such as liberating our soul from any bondage, then it is more powerful. And when we are, what is it that we're using this Haggadah? It's on the night of Pesach, that is known as the Leil HaSeder, the night of order. And so Seder means order, and that is when we're bringing order into our life, as opposed to chaos and destruction in the universe. And when we are bringing order, what happens as a result is order and miracles. So if we want to have or to keep as an intention for the whole evening, for the whole 25 hours actually, is to bring order and miracles into our life. Those are two words that you can't forget. What is it that I want to achieve? What is it that I want to draw from the universe on this evening, on the night of Seder, and on the whole next day, on Saturday morning and Saturday day? I want to bring order and miracles into our lives. We're using a tool, the same as we use tools on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we use the shofar, the horn. On Yom Kippur, we fast. On Purim, we use also another Megillah or Megillat Esther, a scroll. We also use a party and some drink and whatnot. They're all like, with every connection, there is a tool. And so the tool that we use on Pesach is the Haggadah, but is also wine and matzah. Matzah is unleavened bread that represent the energy of Chokhmah, which is the second light in the tree of life. And we use wine, that is the energy of the left column, that is represented by the light of Binah. One represents the father, Chokhmah, one represents the mother, Binah. So we're talking about supernal, spiritual father and mother. And every time that we connect to Chokhmah, we are connecting actually to the right column energy. And every time that we connect to the wine, we connect to the purified, corrected left column negative energy. And so in order to sort of like correct or, like balance the energy, every time that we drink, we actually lean on the left. Why? Because we want to tame the left column. We want to tame our ego. We want to tame our desire to receive for the self alone. So we are using tools. So for those who don't drink alcohol, you can use blackout. We use grape juice. Thank you. All right, so there is what we call like a Seder plate. So on the Seder plate, you have different tools that are going to be used. I'm not going to go all of them right now, but on each, there are going to be sections that I'm hopefully going to find really quick. It's just like a drawing that's coming up. Here we go. So this is how symbolically is the Seder plate. So on the Seder plate, you have the 3 matzot that cover the Seder plate. And so we are connecting to the level of Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat with the three matzot. And then we have Chesed, shank bone, Gvura, with the egg, Tiferet, bitter herb, Netzach, fruit blend, Hod, parsley, Malchut, Yesod, lettuce, Malchut, the Seder plate. So each one of them awaken a type of energy. Okay, so each time before we do the connection, we're going to enunciate the different levels, and actually the one who is going to lead everybody is going to announce. Maybe sometimes he does it silently, sometimes he does it for everybody to hear, but he's going to announce everything that is on the plate, because by saying it, you are activating those levels. And then there are going to be 15 steps of the Seder. The whole thing can take 2 to 3 hours, by the way. So if you have the patience, just prepare yourself. That is going to be 2 or 3 hours of connection. So in order to activate those 15 steps of the Seder, to bring order into our life and tap into the energy of miracles, not for 24 hours, but for the whole year, we're bringing freedom into our lives and stay free. So with every level, we are together saying those words, Kadesh, and then when we get to the second level, Uchatz, Karpas, and each one of them has a certain significance that is led by a different connection. There are certain things that we just look or watch. There are certain things, like there is a step where we read, there is a step where we wash our hands. It's not physical washing, we don't use soap. The washing of the hand is a spiritual concept. We know this if you're in Kabbalah for a while. We wash our hands when we wake up, after we go to the bathroom, etc. Beyond, washing our hands and our face that we would normally do. Why? Because it has this concept of washing spiritually. So this is a great example. We're just talking about it. The first 2 steps are called Kadesh and Uchatz. Uchatz is to wash. So we're basically washing spiritually. So again, I'm not going to go over the entire 15 stages. The last stage ends with songs, and one of the last song is really God that is leading us into the defeating of Satan from our lives. Again, Satan, Satan is not like the caricature that is known in the etymology, in the Greek etymology, red skin, bones on the head. It is a force, a negative force that is draining us from our life force, from our desires, from our passion, from our excitement, and it always finds the best reasons and excuses to do it. But the only thing that it can do is to send out ideas, temptations, some opportunities. It never takes the action instead of us. So if there is any aspect of that in your life that is weak, that is addicted, that has lost passion, that has lost desire, even of something that you might find by now that this is like done deal, it's dead, it's never going to come to me. Like, you know, like I'm speaking sometimes more to my mom, she has like lost the desire to have a relationship. She's young, she's like 67 and 67 going 68. And you know, she's like, nowadays, you know, people live until 90 and 100. You have like another 30 years. You want to spend like your next 30 years alone, like, you know, and it's like the desire has gone bye-bye because of a series of deceptions and disappointments. So this is what Satan does. Satan does that, you know, failure after failure, you stop, you know, fighting for yourself, and you stop desiring, and you stop surviving, and you're just welcoming end. You're just welcoming like nothingness. And the power of Pesach is to like to put the electroshock on our chest and to like boom, to put like this charge into us and to wake us up to life again. So again, don't be like so religious with the details. The most important is the intention, freedom from chaos, and having the desire to look forward to find and to restore and to remain and to keep the desire for healing, and the desire for miracles, and the desire for excitement, the excitement for new things and new experiences and new encounters. This is what Pesach can do for you. So I wish all of you to have, you know, in your own way, the best connection ever, and that you be, you know, one soul with everybody, or that you're going to be online celebrating the Seder, or just reading something, or burning a letter, whatever it is that you do, know that there is a cosmic opening that affects all of us in a good way, that gives us an opportunity to all of us to find some respite, to find some level of freedom, liberation from whatever was holding us back, is holding us back. Thank you very much. And I guess this is it for tonight. See you next week.
Thank you, Yehuda.
Thanks, Yehuda.
You're welcome. Good night.
Thank you.
A bientôt.